They come from near and far, young musicians competing for top honors. The Madison Symphony Orchestra welcomes the 4 finalists to Overture Hall: Bethany Moss, Ephraim Sutherland, David Kao, and Bobby Levenger. It's Wisconsin Young Artists Compete, the final Forte.
Major funding provided in part by Diane Bolway, Larry and Julie Mitbow, Fred and Mary Mose, the Burby Walsh Foundation, the Bolt Company, with additional funds from A. Paul Jones Charitable Trust, Stephen D. Morton, Mildred and Marv Connie, James Dahlberg and Elsabet Lund, Cato L. Perlman, W. Jerome Frauchi, Century Insurance Foundation, and Friends of Wisconsin Public Television.
Thank you. Hello. Hello, and welcome to the Final Forte, the last round of the 2014 Bowles Young Artist Competition. I'm Lori Skelton.
And I'm Joe Ostrowski. Tonight, from the magnificent Overture Hall in Madison, 4 musically talented high school students compete for first prize.
We'll begin with Bethany Moss, who will be playing the 3rd movement of Camille Saint-Saëns' Violin Concerto No. 3 in B minor.
Then Ephraim Sutherland takes the stage. He'll be performing the 1st movement of Emmanuel Séjourné's Concerto for Marimba and String Orchestra.
Next, David Kao will be performing the 1st movement of Jean Sibelius's Violin Concerto in D minor.
And our 4th and final performer tonight is Bobby Levenger. He'll be performing the 1st movement of Edvard Grieg's Piano Concerto in A minor.
And at the end of the program, while the judges' votes are being tallied, the Madison Symphony Orchestra will perform Antonin Dvorak's Carnival Overture.
The orchestra tonight is under the direction of Professor James Smith. Professor Smith, Maestro Smith, is Director of Orchestras at the University of Wisconsin here in Madison. He's also the Director of Music for the Wisconsin Youth Symphony Orchestras. And of course, while he takes the stage, we're going to give you a little introduction to the first of our soloists.
Now, Bethany Moss of Appleton is no stranger to Try, Try Again. In 2012, she was one of 8 semifinalists for the Bowles Young Artists Competition. 2 years later, she's made it to the finals, and she can't wait to be up here on this stage.
My name is Bethany Moss. I'm 17 years old. I live in Appleton, Wisconsin, and I'm homeschooled. My mom is a stay-at-home mom. My dad is chair of music education at Lawrence University. He's been in positions involving music all of my life. I went to his orchestra concerts and saw the orchestra playing, and I just fell in love with the violin. And I kept begging to let my parents, that my parents would let me start playing. And they did when I was 4, and I loved it. I would like to major in violin performance. I love performing. I want to do it as much as I can. I'd also like to start a private studio and teach others to play violin so they can enjoy it as well.
When you lift the bow, can you leave the shoulder down?
I study with Professor Samantha George at Lawrence University.
And then set, right, that's okay.
She's so creative, and she has so many practice ideas. If I'm having trouble with a spot, or even if it's going fairly well, she always has ideas of how to practice it.
And then as you go, remember you're going to feel that elbow really sink down.
Distinguished Emperor of the Romans had...
Not of the Romans.
When I was in 4th grade, I was in a school choir at the time, and we sung a song in Latin. And I thought it was the coolest thing ever, and so interesting. And I decided that if I could ever take a language, I wanted to learn Latin. It's been a great experience, the Latin class. They're all so supportive of my violin playing. They're like my biggest fan club. I'm playing the 3rd movement of Saint-Saëns' Violin Concerto No. 3 in B minor. The first time I remember hearing it was 2 summers ago, and I absolutely loved it. It was so full of character. Playing it with the orchestra will be a completely different experience. And I can't wait to just stand in front of the orchestra and just hear them.
And now Bethany Moss is taking the stage along with Maestro James Smith.
Bethany will be performing the third movement of Saint-Saëns Violin Concerto No. 3 in B minor. This was composed in March of 1880 and premiered in October of the same year. That was Ephraim Sutherland performing the first movement of Sejourné's Concerto for Marimba and String Orchestra.
As Ephraim takes another bow, we'd like to mention that 2014 marks the 88th year of the Symphony's Young Artist Competition. It's also the 8th year the finals have been broadcast statewide on Wisconsin Public Radio, Wisconsin Public Television, and Milwaukee Public Television.
Our next competitor tonight is David Kao, a sophomore at Madison Memorial High School. David is no stranger to competition, with or without a violin.
My name is David Kao. I'm 16 years old, and I'm a sophomore at Madison Memorial High School. I started the piano when I was 4 years old, and then I started the violin when I was 6. I found that classical music had lots of colors and emotions, and a classical music song could match my mood. My violin private teacher is Liz Norton, and I've studied for her for about 7 years. She's taught me so many techniques, as well as the interpretation of pieces and how to do phrasing and musicality.
Don't rush in that measure, okay? Bum.
She's really helped me bring out emotions and really figure out what the composer is trying to say. The more I listened to the Sibelius over and over, the more inspired I got. The Sibelius is like a dialogue between the violin and the orchestra. It's like a rough love story. Like a couple, that they're always fighting and they can never get along. Every day in the morning, I do a Taekwondo routine. I have my first degree black belt, so I like to maintain that status by doing my kicks and my forms. I competed in, I think, 4 nationals. 2 years ago in Florida, I won a gold medal in sparring and then a bronze medal in forms. Same rhythm. That's another hobby I have, is to go and volunteer for Music Makers of Madison. I'm like a mentor.
Play from there.
When they get something and I teach them, I feel really, really accomplished because I can convey what I've learned from my teachers. Music is like relaxation. I always think about myself relaxing and then trying to play my heart out and to convey what emotions I have in the piece to the audience.
Our third competitor, violinist David Kao from Madison, is now coming on stage.
He's chosen to perform the first movement of Sibelius Violin Concerto in D minor.
Sibelius was a Finnish composer from the late Romantic era. This concerto was originally written in 1904.